Hi, hello everyone who is just joining or who is going to watch recording later. Welcome to this mindset series for teachers. And today's episode is why does teachers' mindset matter? So I would love you to just say hi if you are watching me now from any platform. I can see Delhi's here from YouTube, watching from YouTube. So if you can just let me know if you can see me and hear me well and where you are joining from, which country, and maybe what kind of teacher you are. Are you an English teacher or even what's your specialization? If you can just share that with me, I'll be happy to read it and know. So Heather, yes, everything is clear, and Heather is joining us and watching us from YouTube. Fantastic. So you have an echo. Dale is saying, is it really bad or is it okay, Dale? I shouldn't have any echo, but maybe. Okay. And Xandri is saying video sound is clear. So I hope it's clear. So you might be wondering. Why did I decide why I decided to start this mindset series for teachers. So there are different reasons, but one of them is I like the idea of a series because it means there is going to be a continuation. So it's not the first and the last episode, it's going to be episode 2, 3, and 4. And why mindset? So I think everybody is aware that mindset helps a lot um, in any role, in any area of our life, and especially for teachers, because teachers are here to help students, not just to give them knowledge, but to really apply that knowledge. And for teachers to help students apply knowledge, they need to really have the right growth mindset. And we are going to speak about it today. Why is it important? And of course, I want to hear from you. What do you think about this? We are going to speak about different mindset or maybe mindful practices for teachers, and even like if what kind of impact mindset has on student motivation and classroom environment. And as well, we are going to speak about how we can teach mindset to students, or if it should be part of curriculum. So let me know if you're happy with the agenda for today. But it's not going to be really a like strict agenda to follow, but at least some questions I'm going to ask and get your input as well. And it's supposed to be a chat, a talk, which means I'm going to interact a lot with you. So I'm going to ask questions and I will be reading your comments and just putting an app on screen so that everybody can see them. Heather is saying, joining from Spain, I teach students ages 7 to 13. Thank you, Heather, and so nice to have you here. It must be a lot of fun teaching students of these ages. I remember when I was teaching them, I always came home quite tired, but as well in this high frequency and vibe. And Deli saying, yes, now I hear you clearly now. Perfect. So I just wanted to remind you one thing. Maybe you don't know me. Some of you know me probably already. And those of you who don't know me, today I will be in different roles. So I will be in the role of a student myself because I used to be a student. So I will have, or I will remember maybe some things that happened at school and I was happy about it or I wasn't. Then I will be acting as a teacher as well because I used to be an ESL teacher and I was teaching English to general students in different countries, actually in 3 countries, in the UK, in Spain, and in Slovakia. And then I became a teacher entrepreneur, which means apart from teaching, I had to start marketing myself and selling my programs. And my niche was psychologists who wanted to improve their communication skills to speak with their English speaking clients in therapy sessions. So I will be speaking from this role as well. And right now, I'm working as a growth coach for teachers, helping them make more impact and income with what they are doing. And mindset is a huge part of it. Some teachers or trainers and coaches say mindset is 80% of success. Some say even 95%. And I've even heard some saying it's 99% of any success. And I just wonder if it's so important, why there is so little training and so little awareness about mindset and how this can impact not just teachers but students in the classroom. So that's why I decided to do this a mindset series for teachers, and I'm so happy about it. And just before we continue, I wanted to actually remind you. We do different monthly events, and I will share the link so that you can join the future events, not just the second episode to this one, mindset series episodes, but also we do different live sessions for teachers as part of our business company called Bowie. And I'm going to share that link with you so that you can actually see if you can join any events in the future. So, okay, I do hope you did receive the link now, and I'll share more with you later. But now let's just jump in straight away. The first question: why does teachers' mindset matter? Why does it matter? And Heather is saying, yes, it's super fun, makes my day, but it's super exhausting to work with children. I can imagine. And Katya is joining from the UK. Nice to have you here, Katya. So the first question really, why does teachers' mindset matter? And I do assume the ones who are watching me now live and who are going to watch the recording, you are teachers. So why do you think your mindset matters? And what is the impact that it has on student motivation? And if you're a classroom teacher on classroom environment, um, or if you have just one-on-one students in your classes, one-on-one classes. So how does it impact? I will be reading your comments as you read them, and also I'm going to be sharing my experience. So maybe the very first one will be, students don't really learn from you just the knowledge. So you don't just teach them the knowledge, but they learn from you as a person. So they don't follow what you say to them, but who you are. And let me explain what I mean by that through my example, very personal example. So I am a non-native English speaker, and when I was teaching English to different students, and that was 4 years, 5, 6 years ago, um, although I was telling them it doesn't really matter what is your mother tongue, but it's important, to what extent you learn the language. But to be honest, 8 years ago, or maybe even 7 years ago, I didn't think that myself. So I was quite conscious of being or for being a non native English speaker. So one thing is, I was saying something to them, but I didn't follow it myself. So students don't really follow just what you say, but who you are as a person, what attitude you have, and actually, if what you are saying really matches your actions, right? Your acts. So that's why I had to do a lot of work here in this area. And then I was working on my mindset, and I started seeing being a non native English speaker as actually an asset, as a value, because I had to go through all these stages to learn the language from scratch. And then when I just shifted my perception of seeing myself actually as a contribution and maybe even as a role model to my students, like, look where you can get if you learn the language and you follow certain steps. And then when I started shifting this perception, then actually I had many students who wanted to work with me just because I was a non-native English teacher, because they felt like if Steffi could learn language to that extent, I can do it too, and she can encourage me. But for that, I had to change the way I saw myself, and I had to change my perception of what it is like to be a non-native English teacher. Um, Dale commenting, it matters because the students can see how much you care about them. So that's a very good point, Dale. um, Actually, very often, some teachers can be really good at giving or passing on the knowledge. And I had some amazing teachers in my high school and primary and secondary school. However, the teachers that I really remembered, and I remember them till today, even their names, even the subjects they were teaching me, were those teachers who made me feel certain way. And I just remember there was one teacher who really put this extra effort and went the extra mile to actually give some feedback and make comments in between sessions during the break time as well. And I remember one teacher who was teaching actually philosophy, and I liked her subject. But then one day she just made a comment, and at that time I was a very shy person and not confident at all. I was a teenager, I was 18 years old. And she made a comment, Steffi, I really appreciate the way you eloquently express yourself in our philosophy subjects and sessions that we had. And for me, that one comment meant more than everything I learned about all these philosophers and the way they lived. So it's what Dale said, because that teacher cared about me and she wanted to give me some constructive feedback and to support me as a student. So I appreciate that, Dale, what you're saying. And again, this applies both online and face to face classes, of course. The way we make our students feel is very important, because then they are more likely to apply the knowledge we pass on to them in a more effective way, joyful way, and even sustainable way, I would say. Marta is saying it affects your own motivation apart from the student's motivation. It helps set clear and realistic goals, and it gives you a clear path to follow. Yes, this is so true, Martha. So it's not just for, because we said like when you walk the talk, your students follow you as a person, right? As a teacher, not what you're sharing with them. And when you have when you have or when you help them set these clear and realistic goals, then you are helping them a lot, because then they know how to implement everything you are teaching them, and also you are connecting this bigger why, so why they are doing it. And if students see that bigger why, it's easier for them to implement it. Yes, so that's a good comment. Anna is saying yes, you know exactly what they are going through as non-native English teacher. Yes, that's true. Teresa is joining as well, and she's saying your mindset shows through your actions, your attitude, and your energy. Students pick up from all of that. I really appreciate what you're saying here, Teresa, because I do believe that there is one thing actually I didn't quite realize before what attitude meant, but now I know that attitude actually means, as you said, Teresa, it's the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you act. So it's a mixture, a combination of all these three things. That's your attitude. So when people say, I love her attitude, I love his attitude, it means they like the way you think, feel, and act. And the best thing that can happen is when you have these synchronicity, or when you have this alignment between these three thoughts, feelings, and actions. So it's not like I say one thing but then I feel different way or I act differently. So that's why when we walk the talk, it means our attitude is really like our thoughts, feelings, and actions are aligned as teachers. And this is when students see us as authentic, as somebody who is real, right? And then it's easy for them to follow that. um, Dale is saying, I remember my fifth grade teacher, Mrs. Thayer. Yes, I can imagine. Or I can imagine this must have been a very good and empowering teacher if you remember, her name. Dale. Holly is saying, I think it matters because your students even respond to how much you really care about your business. Yes, definitely. So I don't know if you remember, when you remember your teachers or even you as a teacher, when you are motivated, when you are inspired, when you are enthusiastic about what you do, it's kind of contagious, right? You pass it on or you infect your students with this enthusiasm about them, about your business, because if they are part of your business, now I guess Holly speaks as a teacher entrepreneur who already is not just a teacher but is a marketer and seller. So that's why you speak about business. um, it definitely does matter, and people like to work with people who are in this energy, in this nice energy, and it's easier then to follow them. Heather is saying, making the classes feel personal to each student. I try to follow up on their interest and hobbies. Yes, exactly. So this is how, Heather, how you connect not just the knowledge they need to know, but they connect it to something that matters to them, and their interests and hobbies matter to your students. So then when you make it, this nice combination, like a personal things they like, and then you help them implement that knowledge in this more joyful way. So that's a very good way of looking at it. And Holly is saying, my pastor actually says that our thoughts affect our beliefs. which in turn affect our actions. Wow, this is very important to actually stop here and emphasize. I 100% agree with you, Holly. So it all starts with our thoughts. And apparently, I've heard it somewhere, I don't remember where, but all the philosophers disagreed on everything, but they all agreed on just one thing. And then one thing they all agreed on was that you are what you think about, or your thoughts decide who you are. So it all starts with your thoughts. And then, Holly, as you mentioned, when we repeat our thoughts enough times, and with emotion, we emotionalize them, or we can even say we experience them, and then we take action even with those thoughts and those feelings, then they affect our results. So, yes, the thoughts affect our emotions, and then when we repeat them enough times, they become beliefs, and then our beliefs affect our actions. So, uh, definitely when we, let's say, keep saying to our students that you're doing progress here, you are doing much better here, or this is how you are growing, and then you repeat again and again to them, affirming these good qualities in them and affirming their growth, they will start believing it, and they will start believe of them as people or as students who are with growth mindset and who are happy to grow. So this is the same not just for us but for our students. I just remember one story from my actually university. It was a very personal story again, but it was about I was an interpreter because that's what I studied, interpreting and translation. And I was not doing the best job. I was not the worst, but I was not definitely not doing the best job because it was difficult for me to do it in English and to do it very fast simultaneously when we were practicing this, from English to Slovak. And I know myself, I could have done better. But what happened then, I got feedback one day, and that was in front of the whole class. And the teacher, actually, the professor, said to me that I'm not doing well, and that with my interpreting skills, I can hardly make coffee for interpreters, or I can just make coffee for interpreters and not attend those conferences where interpreters actually interpret, do their job. And that was really humiliating for me because I was in front of my peers, my friends, to hear that. First of all, like I was ashamed. And then secondly, I felt like, why did I study for 5 years something that I'm actually not even good at? So, of course, I did emotionalize it a lot. And so you can see, like, the thought the teacher had about me, and they mix it with emotion, right? Made me believe certain things about myself. And these had affect me. This affected me for some time during my university. I was not really keen to do the job anymore. I was really upset. I was crying for many days and just being upset. But then, because I started, to understand that actually this is just the opinion of the teacher, of course, I can do better. I can do better. But this doesn't mean just because I haven't just go to the stage where I'm doing well, it doesn't mean I can't get there. And when I started to shift my mindset, the thoughts I was starting to think about the situation, like this was the teacher's opinion, but I choose to think differently about my interpreting skills. So I choose to think as a successful interpreter. Now, because I chose different thoughts, and as I was repeating them, emotionalizing those thoughts, and visualizing myself as a successful interpreter, I was imagining myself interpreting in the UK. And then what happens, it didn't happen straight away. It happened probably after 1 year when I finished my master's. I actually left the country and I went to the UK. So I came to the UK, that was 11 years ago. And after 1 year living in the UK, I started interpreting. And I was pretty much, there were two people from the whole department, maybe 30 people who were doing this interpreting. I was just two people out of 30 who actually were doing the actual job. And I was one of them. And I felt like if I didn't shift the thoughts I had about myself because of that one opinion of the teacher, then I would have never maybe come to the UK and started taking action to actually become an interpreter in real life. And of course, I was improving and I was getting better every day. It wasn't easy at the beginning, but it was becoming easier. But imagine now, if we go back to that day when that professor said this to me, imagine they would have said something like, Steffi, I can see you are improving every day because I was improving. Um, but these are the areas that you can focus on even more for you to get to this higher stage so that you can really interpret. So the teacher didn't have to say, or lie, Steffi, you're doing really well, you are the best. No, they could just have said the areas I could improve. And then they could just say, if you work on this and this and this, you will get this far. So this is how teachers' mindset and what they say, or not even what they say, but how they say it, can impact us. I can see more people are joining. And Holly is actually saying, there is a much more constructive way to give feedback that upsets me for you. Yes, Holly, I was actually very sad back then, but I guess if something like this happens, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, maybe you can share your examples. You become more resilient as a person when you have this kind of feedback. And actually, there was another feedback, depending how we perceive it. If we decide to follow and to emotionalize and to take personally the feedback people give us, if it's destructive feedback, then we will follow that and it will bring certain results. But if we decide to really, in a way, take control of what we want to think, it does help a lot. But yes, I think if teachers give constructive feedback, we can already have very good foundation very early in life, so we don't have to struggle so many years after. And Dell is saying, my TEFL certification training taught me to use positive instruction with my students. Building their confidence is an important aspect of them learning English. Yes, so this is a very good point, Dale. So why do you think building their confidence is actually important? So why not just teaching them the knowledge? Why not just giving them the knowledge? Why confidence is important? And we emphasize this a lot when we work with teacher entrepreneurs, because many of their students or clients are already advanced learners at B2, C1 level, or even C2, some of them. So they do have a lot of knowledge, but there is this gap, or there is this kind of, yes, I do have the knowledge, but I don't have confidence to use the knowledge. And I feel like there are many students in this case when they just don't use, when they just don't have enough confidence to implement the knowledge. Um, so yes, very good comment, Dale. Now, another thing what I wanted to speak about is, or the second part of it. Okay, and actually, Dale is saying they need to be able to apply what they are learning. A bad experience can convince to quit, definitely. So it's not just like what you need to follow, but yes, why you need to follow, and even connect it with a bigger why, and just supporting those students as they grow. So what I would like to ask now, and actually maybe shift to another question, is that how can we teach mindset to students? So we already know mindset is important for us, first of all, like so that we are happy individuals, and then because our students follow us, and when we approach that learning process with a better mindset, with a growth mindset, we are actually helping our students. But now, how can we teach this mindset to students? And maybe even the second question, should it be part of the curriculum? So should mindset teaching be part of the curriculum? What do you think about it? What is your opinion of this? How can we teach this to students, or should we teach this to students? And should it be part of the curriculum? Yes. So it okay, Holly's saying it's already part of mine. That's fantastic, Holly. So is this like a part of the whole curriculum, or is it something that you at the beginning, or is it like every lesson there is a bit of mindset? It's huge, Holly is saying, and Heather is agreeing as well. Yes, it should. Um, it should. Ladislava is joining us as well. Hey, Ladislava, it should. And Holly, I've seen the impact it can have. Yes, I've seen the impact it can have. Katya is saying, sure, somewhat it should be. Okay. So I don't know if you are aware, I just got to learn about it just a few years ago, that there are two approaches. One is top down approach, and the other one is bottom up. So, top down approach is when these big decisions about different changes in educations are made at this higher level, the education institutions make them, and then they are implemented in schools. So let's say the mindset would be decided at this higher level, yes, it should be implemented, and then it's going to be implemented in schools, so teachers will have to follow it, and students and schools as well. Or then is this bottom up approach, when actually changes come from teachers. And this is what Holly actually touched on, that Holly already made mindset part of her curriculum. So there are, of course, cons and pros. We are not going to go into much detail, like which approach is better. But we sometimes think like, okay, but mindset is not part of the curriculum, so I can't follow it. But actually, if we think about what is mindset, mindset is how we help students apply the knowledge. And if we say, let's say mindset is 95% of the results and knowledge just 5, then how can we do it every day? So it would be nice if it's in curriculum and every teacher was trained to do it. And first, there would need to be training for teachers, right? Because if we are unappreciated, or if we feel unappreciated, if we feel unvalued, overwhelmed, overworked, and underpaid, it's really hard to then just kind of encourage our students to feel differently. So, of course, um, kind of the first appreciation, the first part should be appreciating teachers and training teachers to have this growth strong mindset first, to teach it later to students. However, I have to say something that really um, kind of is important, was important to me. So many teachers that I actually remember were those who gave me their mindset, kind of mindset support, let's say, or they were teaching me mindset or about mindset in between lessons or during lessons. So it was not even part of the curriculum, but it's just the way they, let's say, responded to some of my classmates or to me, or the way they commented on what we said, or the way they actually let us kind of explain mistakes to us, like what is a mistake, what is a failure. And I felt like a lot of mindset was actually happening in between lines, like in between lessons or during the lessons, when they were injecting this mindset thing. So I do believe like we can actually, as teachers, do this bottom up approach and change it from this bottom up, right? In our own way. And like Holly said, she's already doing it. Xandri actually says, never thought about it before, but we definitely should. One of my students is a great speaker, but he gets so nervous that he can't get any words out. Yes. So this is exactly what we meant when I was talking before about the knowledge, but not necessarily having the right mindset and confidence to use that knowledge. So that's exactly what is happening, Sandri. And I had many students like that they knew a lot, and yet they were scared when they had to speak in English with their boss or with their colleagues. Holly says depends on the way the student wants to set it up. Yes, so I guess because Holly, you have like one-on-one students. So yes, I guess you need to discuss it with them, and we can do it at the beginning or weave it into the lessons. Yes, for sure. So I mean, if I could really deliver like ideal curriculum, it would look something like this. So the children from the very early age, when they are 7 and 8, they would not, or maybe even later, right? 7, 8, 9, 10, they wouldn't really learn what they are learning right now, like to go into details of chemistry, physics, and even mathematics. So of course they would be learning these basic principles, but there would be this emphasis on things such as how to really manage their emotional well-being, or how to collaborate with their colleague, with their classmates, and not really compete and compare their successes, or how to focus on progress and not really achievements only, or even how to make decisions and feel proud of them, or even how to approach making mistakes. So this would be part of the curriculum, and whatever they would be learning, the new lessons, they would be practicing actually these life skills as they would be going through these new lessons. Because right now it feels like in education, unless there are exceptions, there are some really like some schools are already improving a lot, but in most schools it's really about 95% they are teaching the knowledge, and then if you are lucky enough to have like some good teachers, then you learn how to even apply that knowledge. But very often, and many of my peers, when we just speak after many years, when we meet together, they feel like, oh, I had to actually learn how to approach life or these life skills when I actually finished my uni. Then I started to actually learn how to make decisions, how to plan my day, how to be effective with my time, um, how to manage my emotional state and things like that. So it feels like we are learning this much later, although it could be implemented in the curriculum very early. So, what do you think about this? If students or with children were learning very early, even how to set goals, how to make decisions, how to choose right friends, how to learn more about their values and things they like doing, or even maybe how to pick a few subjects that are more relevant to what they want to do, and just be exposed to those mainly. Um, I can see Katya is saying, notes to self, congratulate my students more in lessons. Yes, so that's another thing. Congratulating students in lessons is how to celebrate their progress. Um, I just remember there were quite a few teachers when I was a student who were just celebrating those who had the best grades. So I was lucky to have very good grades in my primary and secondary school. But then there was something that I didn't realize, that actually I realized that my worth was just associated with achievements. So even when I became an adult, I saw my worth just through my achievements, because teachers were only celebrating when we got good grades. So those students of my some of my classmates who were maybe not as lucky to have these good grades, because maybe this was not their favorite subject, or they had other talents and qualities, they were not really celebrated, they were not really encouraged. And for them, they maybe felt like, oh, I'm not good enough. And then for me, I felt I'm only good enough if I achieve things. So this is a very good note, Katya, just to congratulate your students more in lessons and just to celebrate every progress that they make. So important. Yes, and Florina is saying it would be great if it was part of the curriculum. Um, yes. What else do you think could be implemented so that students understand as well why mindset is important? Or how can we teach mindset to our students? I don't know how you, but for example, when I was in my university, I had 16 subjects. How many subjects did you have in university? Or if you remember, maybe you don't remember. I just remember that it was overwhelming and I couldn't really focus on all the subjects very well. And most of the subjects didn't even make sense to me. I didn't even know why I was learning them. Like, why? Maybe I understood three or four, why they were important. But the rest, I didn't really get. Like, why am I learning them? And then I remember one teacher. So one of those subjects, I didn't enjoy it that much, but it was okay. It was just one of the assignments we had to do. And then when I did that assignment, what he actually did, he shared with me the why. So why is that subject important, and how I am a contribution to the society just because I did that assignment. And just to give you a bit more context, the assignment was about um, comparing certain dialects in Slovakia to the common language. So to Slovak. Um, so what was the differences, and also because some speakers or some people were saying that people who speak in dialects um, are actually not as maybe not even praised, but maybe they are not looked at as someone who is really kind of professional or good enough. So because of this assignment that I actually did, we found out that actually people who can speak in dialect and then in Slovak, as it was common Slovak, common language, are actually very talented because they can switch from one language to another. And because I did this research or maybe this assignment, um, I did contribute to the results of this subject that he was actually doing, but I didn't really see that much maybe value in that subject before that teacher actually pointed it out that it's very important what you're doing, Steffi, and this will be followed by future students, what you did. And if we make our students see why is it important what they study, it feels more motivating for them. So I felt like this is one of the mindset maybe things or tips that could be implemented in schools for students to feel really motivated to do it, to see why they are doing it. Holly is saying in American universities, you only need 3 to 5 classes per semester to be full time. Okay, so this sounds so much better, Holly, already. It depends on how many credits each class is worth. Okay, that makes sense. So it's a bit different system. So I had 16 classes or 16 subjects, and it was just overwhelming. And then because I didn't see why I need to learn this, it was just like purely cramming this knowledge, and then just I forgot it maybe 1 week after or 2 weeks after, and I didn't really feel much more. I didn't really felt much more confident because of that. Good. Now, what I want to speak. So we spoke already about how teachers' mindset impacts student motivation and classroom environment. Then we spoke about as well how can we teach mindset to students, and even how to, if it can be implemented in curriculum. And we discussed these two approaches, top down and bottom up. And now I would love to ask you about mindset or maybe mindful practices that you do to actually take care of your mindset, of your mind. Because very often we go for the checkups to the dentist, to the general practitioner. Where else do we go? I don't know, for different checkups. If we go to different professionals, but we don't really do a lot of checkups sometimes in terms of our minds, in terms of our mindset. So, what practices do you follow, mindful practices, to really stay motivated, encouraged, and in this growth mindset every day as a teacher? What are you following? What mindful practices? And I'm going to mention some of them I am following and I was following as a teacher entrepreneur and before even as a teacher. But I will be reading yours as well. So maybe you will mention some of them that I won't think about even. So one of them, of the mindful practices, can actually be mindful commuting. So when you go, I don't know, do you drive? Do you walk? Do you use public transport, or do you just work from home? So if you can just maybe share that as well. But mindful commuting, yes, and Katya is saying go for a walk every day, clears your mind. So that's another example. Mindful walking, it definitely clears your mind, and this connection with nature is very helpful. um, I am a big fan of nature, so I do follow that. Holly is saying, I don't know, I don't do this every day, but I pray. I try to check to see what the Bible has to say about what I'm doing or thinking, and I try to talk things out with friends. So this is a very good practice, Holly, and it's great that it works for you, and then that you feel more aligned the way you think and the way you do things after doing this practice. Holly's saying, yes, I work from home. And Dr. Priscilla is watching us as well, works from home too. So maybe for you, it's not going to be mindful commuting. Maybe you just need to move from your bedroom to your office, if you have an office, or maybe just, I don't know, where you work from your house. But maybe like mindful walking, as Katya is doing, for example. And Katya is saying, yeah, my commute is from the living room to the spare bedroom. That's great. That's great, Katya. It's good that you don't have to spend your time on public transport. So that's one way. Then another way is mindful breathing. So who practices mindful breathing? When you just stop and focus on your breath. Apparently, I learned this something. I learned this just a short while ago when I was doing yoga, that our mind cannot not focus on anything. That it's a myth, like this kind of where we kind of stop all the mental activities. Apparently, we have to always focus on something. And the best way to really become calm and mindful, we can focus on our breath. And this calms our down. I don't know if that works for you. I do sometimes practice it, but very often what works even better for me is when I focus on certain parts of my body, or even when I scan my body and I see how I feel in different parts of my body and maybe where is the tension. And then I send maybe more energy or more kind of mindful, yes, energy to that part of the body. Or I just focus on my hands, or I just focus on my, I don't know, nose when I'm in front of a mirror, or my lips or my eyes. Um, this helps me. Holly is saying, I live in a studio, so my commute is from the bed or table to the desk. Yes, Holly, I did live in studios a lot before as well, so I completely understand. It's probably like 2 second commuting, maybe not even that, which is good. Everything is in one place. It's minimalistic, but yes, I've been there too, Holly, so I know what it is like. Now, if you can share more mindful practices, what you do. Another one, what I was doing when I was a teacher here in London, I was actually doing mindful eating because I was working 8 hours in school, but actually just 6 or 7. But I spent there 8 hours altogether. And we had this lunch break. And that lunch break was this mindful eating time for me. So I was focusing on what I was eating. And usually we had this canteen so we could eat all together. And I really loved that time because that was the time when I just calmed down and I was ready for more sessions in the afternoon. So that was for me. Katya is saying, I wind down with stretching and breathing exercises every night. That's great, Katya. And I guess that relaxes you and puts you, or makes you feel more relaxed before going to bed. Yeah, that's a good one. Florina is saying, I try to be fully present in whatever I'm doing. That's the best state to be in, Florina. Um, and yes, I can imagine, when you say I try to be, I do too. I do try to be too, but very often, right, it's kind of tricky, right? We think about things that will happen or things that just happened. So speaking about this, actually, there is one thing that I started to do only recently, in a way, well, a few years ago, is this visualizations or even mindful preparation. So, whatever you want to call it, but basically, before I or when I'm preparing for any sessions that I have, and even when I was preparing for any sessions or having any lessons with the students, I was visualizing how I would love this to go, or like how I would love to feel, and how I would love everybody to feel in that lesson. More even like exactly what I wanted to happen, or maybe not that, but how I would wanted people to feel, and maybe how I what I wanted people to take away from that lesson, so kind of intention. And very often it didn't happen as I wanted, but very important thing is like you do with the best intention, and then you're just open to whatever you need to maybe learn. Maybe it will exactly happen as you envision it, and maybe it will not. But even if it doesn't happen that same way, it's just for you to maybe learn something that will benefit you even more in that situation. And but I remember when I started visualizing and kind of setting intentions, it even helped me set these boundaries, or even like you can call it like mindful transition. So when you move from one lesson to another, very often before I used to just think about the previous student when I was with a new student, but then when I did this mindful transition, I kind of like closed the previous lesson and then I started a new one, and that was helping me as well because I reset my mind and I was ready for the next student. So I don't know if you do anything like that, if you do any mindful transitions or visualization, maybe in the morning or before the sessions that you have. It doesn't have to be long, it can be just a few seconds, but it does put you in this great energy and presence and alignment. Um, and your students very often feel it, even though you don't have to say anything, they feel it. So what else is there for you that you've been trying and it works for you? If you can just share. I know many people do gratitude journal as well, or just writing, journaling. Um, I sometimes do it too, but it's not my kind of most common style, what I follow. Um, Another thing, what I used to do as well as part of this mindful practice was mindful listening. And this really means just to focus on the person who is speaking and listening to them without wanting or preparing already what you want to tell them or how you want to respond. And this was a really good one. And that it wasn't even tiring. You were just focusing on what a person was saying. So, yes, that was another mindful practice that I was practicing and it was working for me. Great. If you have more examples, just share them. I'll be reading them. And I guess we will be finishing in a few minutes. I will try to have these episodes like 30 minutes, and maybe sometimes we can go over. Now I went already 15 minutes over. But yes, for the future session, actually, I would love to focus on the identity, meaning who do you need to become for you to be a successful teacher that makes impact and good income? So, who do you need to become and how you can become that person? So, we are going to speak more about identity because your identity is part of your mindset, meaning the way you see yourself, the way you perceive yourself, the way you, believe about yourself, about your skills. Yes, Dr. Priscilla. So this is, I think it's one of the most important things because sometimes people think, actually, I used to think that myself, that we attract things in our life, or even better students, more money, or better conditions, or circumstances in our life, just because of the good mood we are in. And I used to think it for many years that you just have to have this positive thinking and just to be positive and in this good mood all the time, or then when you will attract these good things in your life. And I'm not saying it's a bad idea to be in a good mood. It's actually a very good idea, but good mood doesn't attract good results permanently. So what attracts good results is actually the identity we create about ourselves. So this may explain as well um, many things, which we are going to speak about in more detail in the future episode. But we are going to speak about identity. So, how your identity affects the results you're getting in your life. And not just one off results that we can attract just by being in good mood, but really permanent results. And I will just give you one example just to finish this topic so that to make you feel a little bit excited about the next episode. When I became a teacher entrepreneur and I started my journey, and when I tripled my hourly rate, so I went from 12.50 in pounds to I don't know how much it was, about 46. So it was $50, so about three times more that I was charging as a teacher entrepreneur. And then attracting my first three uh, niche clients, let's call them niche clients, at this higher rate, triple rate, just within 6 weeks after I started. And I thought, like, wow, wow, like this is amazing. Like, how is this possible? And it's true that I was in a very good mood, very good vibe, and I was enthusiastic and full of this, drive and good energy and like can do attitude and like really this confidence. Like I was having this momentum. When you start a new project, you're just full of this energy. And then I was just thinking, like, wow, this is so easy. Like now I will get more students like this. And then 4 months, nothing. So I was getting a lot of people interested, but I didn't manage to convert them to become my clients or to make them be my students. And then when I was trying to understand what it was because I attracted these first students because I had the momentum. I was in a good energy. I attracted those people, but I still didn't change my identity, how I saw myself as a teacher, to attract those students or clients permanently. So I still was kind of on and off thinking about myself as like, am I worth charging $50 per hour, or should I go back to 15, whatever I was charging before? And or even like, am I worth being listened to by my clients on LinkedIn? If I'm just starting and I don't have that much to say. And because of that, my identity, so even though I was in a good mood, but these beliefs didn't really support the result I wanted to be getting in the future, right? With this new teaching business that I had. So I learned actually that I had to work on my identity, the way I saw myself, the way I believe about myself, to attract consistent results. So this is something we are going to speak about in more detail in the future episode. And the future episode is going to be in 3 weeks from now. So um, if I look at my calendar, actually 3 weeks from now is going to be 3rd of July. And the reason why it's not in 1 or 2 weeks time is because we have a workshop as part of our sorry, I'm just trying to open my actually share my screen. We have a workshop which is going to be about 2-day teacher online success summit, and we are just preparing for this workshop. And then after this workshop, I would like to continue with these episodes, and maybe on a bi-weekly basis, or maybe even on a weekly basis. We will see how we go. So again, I will just share these events with you. But this is what we have on the 26th of June, 27th of June, from 11 a.m. Eastern Time to 2 p.m. Eastern Time. If you want to join, you need to register here for free. So these are all free events. And of course, there is another one tomorrow where James, my business partner, is going to um, interview Meredith, who actually went from $10 per hour to over $100 per hour. And she's going to speak about it tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, so the same time as today. And then we will have a monthly party for teachers. That will be on the 20th of June. So that's why this second episode is not going to be earlier than 3 weeks from now. Yeah, and it will be the same time Wednesday, but just 3 weeks from now. So let me just stop sharing, and I will just share the link again here for those of you who would like to attend any of the events I just shared with you right now, and it will be nice to see you there. So Florina is saying, I wouldn't describe it as a mood, but as a general state of being. Exactly, Florina. So I would call this general state of being as your identity. So even if you have this identity of someone who attracts 5 new students every month, so even if you are in a bad mood, this will not really affect your results, or maybe it will affect a little bit but not massively. So this is good news, right? That if you once you create your identity, you can be in a bad mood and you will be still fine. But yes, a good comment. Holly is saying, I get it, I'm charging higher rates but still attracting people who want to pay platform rates. So Holly, it took me probably 1 year and a half 1 year and a half to really get to the stage when I felt like, yes, this is where I am. I'm charging only $100 per hour and more. It took some time, a lot of mindset work, and even after that, to be honest, I was still getting students or clients who didn't want to pay that much. Um, but I guess then that's your new standard. So whatever, when you are raising your prices, that will be your new standard. So if it's $50 right now, it's going to be hard for you to work for less unless you decide consciously and voluntarily you want to do it. But that's how we are, in a way, increasing our standards, and these standards are part of our identity. But yes, a good comment from Holly. Thank you so much for being here today, and I will love to see you tomorrow with James when he's going to interview Meredith, or even week after for the party for teachers, or even 2 weeks from now for the summit that we have for teachers, how to be successful teachers and make more impact and income. And see you in 3 weeks for this episode 2 of Mindset series for teachers. Thank you everybody who could attend today, and yes, great. Heather, Florina, Sandre, thank you so much for being here, everyone. I appreciate you. All the best. Have a good day and stay in the best possible mindset. Bye bye.